Welcome, and thank you so much for stopping by. In the next few minutes, I'll be giving you an introduction to B Corps. I'll be telling you what they are, why they're great, and how your company can become one. So let's jump right in. Maybe you've seen this B on your pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream or your Cabot cheese, and you're wondering, what's this all about? Well, this B is essentially a certification of a good company. In the past, we certified good products, organic milk, fair trade coffee, a LEED building. What B Corp aims to do is go a step above that and certify the whole company. So when you're looking at your jug of milk, you don't just know that the milk is good, you know that the company that stands behind it is also good. And the B Corp concept is all based around the idea of companies using business as a force for good. So what might a B Corp be? It might be a company that makes solar panels or has designed a water purification system. It might also be a company that really cares about its employees and wants to make a truly exceptional work environment. It might also simply be a company that during the course of its normal business operations, it wants to make sure that its impact on the community and on the environment is positive. So it can be a very wide range of companies. Given this wide range, what do they have in common? Well, B Corps go through a rigorous certification process that looks at their performance on the environment, workers, customers, community, and governance. The assessment process is all about transparency in these key areas that really matter to a business. So how did this all come about? The concept of the B Corp was first brought about in 2006, and as you can see, it's really taken off over the last 10 years. So much so that today there are 1,674 B corporations. And they're all built around this one unifying goal of using business as a force for good. As you can see, there are some companies that you probably know quite well, like Ben & Jerry's and Patagonia and Etsy. I could name drop all day. There's also B Corps that you might be surprised about. For example, B Corp law firms and B Corp accountants and B Corp banks and office supplies. The B Corp concept is really available to all kinds of companies that are interested in committing to those key areas we saw before. And it's a growing worldwide trend that is now in 48 countries and 130 industries, all based around this goal of using business as a force for good. So who came up with this whole idea? 3 businessmen had the experience that during the courses of their business, as their businesses grew and were bought and sold, it was extremely difficult to hold on to social and environmental commitments that they had in their business and that they valued. And this is all based in the shareholder primacy doctrine that many businesses operate out of today. So these founders wanted a concept that would protect their commitment to social and environmental values over time. And so they came up with the B Corp. In order to advocate for this concept, they formed a nonprofit called the B Lab. And the B Lab serves a couple of functions. First of all, it certifies B Corps, and it supports and advocates for new B Corps. Additionally, it supports benefit corporation legislation. And I'm going to pause for a moment here because there's some confusion in the field. B Corps and benefit corporations are not the same thing, although they do share common roots. B Corps, as we've talked about, is a certification, a stamp that you can put on your company. Benefit corporation is a legal and a tax structure available to companies in many states. Like you can become an S Corp or a C Corp or an LLC, in many states you can become a benefit corporation. The B Lab also runs B Analytics, which is an investor-facing platform, and it acts as a hub for the B Corp movement and for the social enterprise movement in general. So maybe you're saying, okay, I can see myself as a B Corp, but why would I go to the trouble of doing the assessment process? What's in it for me? And I'm going to talk now about some of the benefits of being a B Corp. And there are a lot. I could talk all day. But what I'm going to highlight here are the top benefits that leading B Corps say they gained since becoming a B Corp. First of all, there's a network of respected colleagues. As you saw before, there are some really great companies who are B Corps. Companies like Patagonia and like Ben & Jerry's, who've been leaders in their industry for quite some time, and leaders in the social enterprise movement. So these are colleagues that you want to have. Building on that, there's a very collaborative spirit among B Corps. That's a lot of information sharing, support, shared marketing, discounts, etc. I think it's fair to say that in the B Corp movement, collaboration is the new competition. So there's a lot of benefits to be gained from being part of that network. Product differentiation is another key benefit. B Corp is a way to tell your story to consumers, a way to set yourself apart from competitors. Attracting talent is another key benefit. There's been a lot of research showing that millennials and the new workforce are very interested in working for companies whose values align with their own personal values. And B Corps have had success in attracting this talent. There's growing press coverage and public research highlighting B Corps. And there's also growing investment in B Corps. And as we've seen, it's a growing worldwide trend. And I have a lot of confidence that the B Corp movement is going to continue to expand and continue to become an important player. And I think it makes a lot of sense to get in on the ground now. So maybe I've sold you. You'd love to become a B Corp. How do you go about it? Well, the B Lab uses one key tool to certify B Corps, and that's called the impact assessment. It's essentially a big questionnaire which is going to ask you questions about these categories I mentioned before: the environment, your workers, customers, community, and governance. It's going to ask questions like, do you have a healthcare policy and what does it include? Or do you take water-saving measures? Do your employees do volunteer time in the community? And in the end, it will be condensed down into this impact report that you see here for Patagonia. I want to highlight two very important things. Number one, the impact assessment is scored from 0 to 200, and you have to get 80 points in order to become a B Corp. What's also important to note is that the assessment is a positive assessment. You get points for things you do well. You don't lose points for things that you don't do well yet. So it's very forward-looking. It rewards you and recognizes what you're already doing and pushes your company to do better in the long run. So how can you have one of these B impact reports like Patagonia does? It's a relatively straightforward process. First of all, check out the free online quick assessment. This is a way to put your toe in the water, get an idea of the questions that are going to be asked in the different categories, and get an idea of how your company might score. Once you've done that, you can jump into the full impact assessment. And I want to note a couple great things about this. First of all, it's free, it's confidential, and it's no commitment, which means that you can start working on the impact assessment before you've decided to definitely become a B Corp. And the assessment is filled with best practice guides and tips for becoming a better company. So you can also use it as a resource to get ideas. But say you're sold, you're ready to become a B Corp, so you'll submit your assessment for review. And the B Lab is going to be asking for some documentation. So for example, you said, we have a great healthcare policy. They'll want to see that policy written down. If you said your company has reduced energy use, they're going to want to see documentation of that. After you've submitted the documentation, you'll be on a review call with a B Lab representative. And this is a great opportunity to explore with a representative of the B Lab what you do well, what you could do better, and set goals for the future. You'll pay the certification fee, and that's based on your revenue. And if you've scored 80 points or more, you'll become a B Corp. Congratulations! The assessment process is straightforward and there's a lot of support. It can get kind of nitty-gritty when it gets into answering all those questions on the full assessment. And my recommendation here is to reach out to supports within your company, people who know and love your company, to use the assessment as a tool for celebrating what you do well and for setting positive goals for the future. And this can make it a very energizing tool. Thank you so much for listening. I hope some of this information has been useful to you, and please do feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I'd be delighted to answer them, and I'm always excited to talk more about B Corps. So I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for stopping by.